Okay, 4.1, day 2. In this video, you will see how to synthetically divide. So we're going to learn synthetic division. Yesterday, we looked at long division, and I hope you realize, man, that's a very, very long process. There has to be a faster and quicker way to do this, and there is. It's called synthetic division, so that's what we're going to get into. We'll look at 2 problems, and then we'll call it a day for today. Alright, so let's get started. If I look at letter C, this problem should look familiar. It's just like the one we did the other day when we did long division. But in this case, I'm going to do synthetic division, and you'll be able to compare and notice that you're going to get the same answer. I believe that this is letter B in your notes. So if you want to take a look at letter B after we're done, you're going to notice that you get the same answer. So it says, find the quotient and the remainder when you do this. So synthetic division, here's how I set this up. I look at what I'm dividing by. So in this case, I'm dividing by the x minus 3. I'm always going to ask myself, what makes that equal to 0? I'm going to find the 0 of that. So what makes x minus 3 equal to 0? Well, it's positive 3. So I'd put in my notes, you always want to find what makes that 0. Okay, so I know that positive 3 makes that 0, so now I'm ready to set up my synthetic division. Notice that I took the 0, I put it in this upper left-hand corner. Okay, so when we set up synthetic division, always set it up like this, and we'll be successful from here. So now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to simply look at what I'm dividing, look at what I'm trying to divide. Notice I have this 2 here. I still have a 0 missing for the x cubed, so I'm going to put the 2. I'm going to put the 0 for the x cubed, the negative 15 for the x squared, the negative 10 for the x, and the positive 5 for the constant. Okay, so this is how I'm going to begin to set up my synthetic division. First step, always, 100% of the time, you always want to bring down that first term. Then, from there, I'm going to take the 3 times 2, and I'm going to put that right there. So I'm going to multiply, put that number there, and then I'm going to add. 0 plus 6 is 6. Wash, rinse, repeat. Do that same thing over and over again until you're finished. Multiply. 6 times 3 to get the 18. Add them. Multiply the 3 times 3. Add them. Multiply the 3 times negative 1. Add them. Those numbers right there should look very, very familiar to the problem that we did in letter B. Take a look back, look at letter B. You should be saying, oh my God, I cannot believe how fast that is. What you need to remember is that the 2 is always going to be, always start right to left. So the 2 is always going to be your remainder. The negative 1 will be your constant, and then go up from there. The 3 is your x, the 6 is your x squared, the 2 is your x cubed. If there were more numbers, then it would be your x to the 4th, x to the 5th, etc., etc., etc. So remainder, constant, and then kind of go x, x squared, x cubed, whatever you need to do. And now, if you look at this answer, man, there is the same exact answer that we got when we did our long division in letter B, and look at how long that took us. On my screen it says 4 minutes it took us to do that. Think about how fast we're going to get at those. So synthetic division, what makes this 0? Well, that makes it 0, so that's what I'm going to put in the box. You take all of the coefficients and simply put them there. and then your thought process, multiply, add, multiply, add, multiply, add, multiply, add. Okay, so think about that. Let's try another one. Yeah, I'll show 2 more for you. So, if I take a look at the first one, well, x minus 1, what makes that 0? Well, positive 1 makes that 0, so that's why I'm going to put that there. If you need to, write yourself that reminder again. What goes in that box in the upper left-hand corner is what makes your linear term here, what makes it equal to 0. Okay, so I'm going to put that positive 1 there. Let's take a look at my function. Here it is. Are there any terms missing? Cube, squared, x, constant. Doesn't look like any terms are missing, so it doesn't look like I'm going to have to put any zeros to hold its place. So 1 for the x cubed, 5, 5, and negative 2. Alright, so I know first step is to always bring down that first term. I multiply 1 times 1, that gives me 1. I add them. Multiply, add. Multiply, add. Alright, so think about that. 9 is my remainder. 11 is my constant. 6 is my x. 1 is my x squared. And voila, there is my answer. Okay. So, one more. Let's take a look at the second one. Alright, so think x plus 2. What is my 0 in this one? What goes in that box in the upper left-hand corner? Hopefully you're saying that negative 2 goes in that box there. Great. So divide, no zeros, so I don't have to worry about that. Okay, bring down that first term. I went a little bit quicker. Multiply, add. Hopefully you ended up there. So notice that I got a 0 remainder. Constant is negative 1, 3 is an x, and 1 is an x squared. What is it called? Oops. What is it called when something has a 0 remainder? What can we say about this x plus 2 then? Any ideas? Or what if I asked you, alright, so I told you that 3 went into 12 4 times, and I got a 0 remainder. What does it say about this number 3 and that number 12? Do you have any idea what it is? What do we call it when you get something with a 0 remainder? Well, I'm going to write it for you because I think it's important. Take a look at what I just wrote for you there. They're called a factor of the polynomial because the remainder is 0. So I'm kind of foreshadowing. Please, hopefully you understand. Alright, he's obviously doing this for a reason. So, because I got a remainder of 0, that means that x plus 2 is a factor of the polynomial. Think about the problem I just had there for you. 3 is a factor of 12 because I get a remainder of 0. Okay, so we're going to be talking about factors, we'll talk about remainders, we'll talk about all this stuff as we keep going. Hopefully synthetic division, not bad. As long as you remember the 0 goes in the upper left-hand corner to bring that first term down. Please write yourself a note. If any terms are missing, you got to put a 0 to hold their place. I cannot stress to you how important that's going to be. If you forget that, there goes your entire problem. Okay, so synthetic division, in a nutshell, got a good activity for us in class. Good job.